I remember MTV. I remember the heyday of MTV. I remember watching the videos, waiting for them to come out. And I can distinctly remember New Thing being in my rotation. Got to see this video. Got to see this video. The band was amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Chip's Enough. I want to say Chip Zale because we do have a Chip Zale in town that plays music. So I keep.
Yeah, no relation to Chip's Enough.
No. You're in Chicago, right?
Chicago lad, born and bred.
Yeah. Nice. So that's where you is that where you play mostly, or are you guys traveling around?
No, when I do my radio show on the Monsters of Rock on the Dash Radio Network, I've been doing a lot of that here in Blue Island, in my hometown, out of my studio. I just send the cues to Los Angeles, but a lot of it's all live. All the shows are live, and that's real special. So it's not like somebody calling in and then a computer picks up and tells you that they won't listen or play one of your songs. It's pretty much a celebration of life. 365 days a year, 24/7, nothing but hard rock and heavy metal. That's what I've been doing over here. That and making other records and, helping produce a few bands. Steve Ramone just finishing up his record, doing this band called Midnight Devils, which is members from Pretty Boy Floyd. They're in the studio recording with us. And then I'm doing my little Beatle thing that I got coming out at the end of the month. I'm playing at the Monsters of Rock Cruise. It's a live streaming show, and it's called Hard Rock Night. Hard Rock Night, like a play off a Hard Day's Night. And it's a whole set of the Beatles songs done like Judas Priest meets Queen. It's just heavier than sin. It's great. And it's really challenging, too, playing all those old Beatles songs. And we're not just picking out the little hits. I want to hold your hand. It's the heavy side of the Beatles, from early stuff like Magical Mystery Tour down to Dear Prudence off the White Album, and Eleanor Rigby, another great version of that one that would not just strings, just hard guitars, heavy, tuned down to low D, really powerful. And then back in the USSR and a little help from my friends. It's just a big potpourri of Beatles songs. So that's on February, or I should say that's March 27th on the Monsters of Rock Cruise. You can get that if you want to check us out in a live streaming show before we actually embark on our next tour, which starts sometime in June, I'm told. It's called the Quarantine Tour with Faster Pussycat.
Talk about the bands that you played with back in the day compared to the bands you're playing with now, like Faster Pussycat. What's it like now touring with those bands? Because Enough's Enough, Faster Pussycat, big partying bands if we're talking about 1989, 1990. What's it like now touring with those guys?
Well, back in the old days, we were touring around. We were in a bread truck, bro, and in vans, in little Oscar Mayer wiener wagons. We were following around bands like Badlands or Def Leppard or Cheap Trick. That game a little bit. It's great. The bands that are out there they bring a lot of fun to the shows. They're very experimental. They're playing their catalog and they're playing their new material as well. I think the newer bands are just as strong. Remember, they all came from the same place. Faster Pussycat, they were on tour in the old days with Motley Crue. So we've all toured. We played the sheds and arenas and stadiums, and now we're in theaters, and sometimes we do club dates. Or I think it doesn't matter where you go to. Who cares who drives the bus? Let's get to the picnic. It's a bunch of great shows that are going out there, and we're playing songs to the people that the first time they got hired, the first time they got laid, they heard our music and seen our shows and watched us on MTV. It's all real good at the end of the day. I just want to see concerts get back out there. And I think that we're getting closer and closer to where we can open up those gates and we can start seeing some live shows. And maybe they'll start with a couple of big ones. I mean, they let 25,000 people into the football games. There's no reason why you can't go to a baseball game. Now they're going to open that up where 10,000 fans there as well. There's no reason why we couldn't go out there and play shows and play to 1,000 people. Everybody's respectful, wears a mask, social distances. You're going to be in good shape and you'll be able to watch live performance again. And that's what I'm looking forward to because, come on, it's been a year right now for all of us. All those crew guys that are out there that are out of work right now, people, sound guys and guitar techs and people behind the scenes that help put these shows on, they all want to get back on it again. It's real important that we start off the right way after these vaccines, which is live shows, still being safe, work our way through. By next year, it'll be perfect for everybody, I have a feeling. But right now, let's be cautious. The shows are going to happen. We're celebrating all these bands and it's going to be the Wild West when it all opens up. There'll be no room for anybody to play. All the gigs will be booked. So you better get them
Right.
now, folks.
All those stimulus checks are going to go to concert tickets, I think.
Well, the
I'm saving
stimulus
mine.
checks, I'm sure, are going to help out a few people. As we're not talking about, it's a bandage on a gunshot wound. Okay, stimulus checks are going to help a little bit, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. I didn't ask for one because I know there's people that need them more than I do, but
Yeah.
all that money is going to help a lot of different people paying their mortgage, getting food on the table. It's a nice thing. I wish it didn't take so long, but I'm looking at the glass half full. We're getting the stimulus checks. People are going to want to get back out there and see shows again, theaters, plays, rock concerts. It's all going to open up, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
So now over the last like 3 or 4 years, maybe you've been fronting the band. Donnie V had left because from what I understand, he didn't want to tour anymore. So you took over the reins as lead singer and bassist of Enough's Enough. How's that been? I mean, you didn't, the first, 3/4 of your career as Enough's Enough, you had another guy singing. Is it difficult to make that transition, or was it pretty natural for you?
Well, I think that Donnie V will go down as one of the quintessential singers of our generation. Once people hear these songs, they go back and listen to the catalog. The guy's fabulous. Those are 1 and 2 takes in the studio. He's as good as anybody out there. Of course, he got disillusioned by the business after 30 years of dedicating his whole life to it. And, I'm sure that those, I've seen him in handcuffs before, and it's a nice accessory on him. He wears them well. But I seen the guy every single night in concert, and he did the best he could every night, and carried those shows and sang those songs. He's a fabulous frontman. To take over, I didn't want the gig, but it was pretty much my only way to go when it came to making a decision if I'm going to continue moving out with Enough Snuff. And I looked at bands like Stone Temple Pilots and Journey, and of course Styx and Kansas, and any of the great bands that are out there, especially Journey, that have went out and got lead singers. And look what they've done. They've really taken, and those are bands that sold millions and millions of records. So it's a little different than Enough's Enough is. But I looked at every band, and I seen that there was one band, Genesis, when they had Peter Gabriel. He was in the band all those years, and then he split, and Phil Collins took over lead vocals. And that was the template I used. And just went out there, rehearsed, put together a great band with Tori Stoffragan from Black Mollies, of course, and he was also in a couple other distinguishable bands. Otherwise, Motherload was a great one that he played with. And I got Dan Hill, Daniel Benjamin Hill. He's been around for years. Wonderful drummer, session guy, does movies and soundtracks. Got Tony Fennell to come in. He did it for a couple of years from Ultravox. Fabulous singer and songwriter. Then Tony took a break, and I went and got Alex Kane from Life, Sex, and Death, who was the first guitar player in Enough's Enough, to come in and play the shows. He's been with us ever since. He's doing a great job. And I've added another guy too. I got Steve Ramone playing with us as well, Joey Ramone's nephew. So it's a formidable band right now. It takes all those guys to sing those songs to bring them to life on those records. And the fans have spoken, and we're on Frontiers Records. We got just signed another 3-album deal, and we're also with we're putting all our catalog stuff out on Cleopatra Records as well. I think the band's moving stronger and better than it's ever moved before right now. We've got a lot of good things happening for us. Getting all that music out there is the most important thing to me. Getting the catalog out on Cleopatra Records, all those old records that we did when we recorded with the guys in Cheap Trick and Billy Corrigan and JY from Styx, all the way down to the J.K. Lee Dissonance record that he played with us on. Those are albums that you can't find in these stores or anywhere. So to have them all released around the country is fabulous. And with Frontiers, they've been good to us. The last couple records, Clown's Lounge, of course, Diamond Boy, and then the last record we just put out, Brainwashed Generation, have all done well for us. And it's keeping us out there and keeping us in a position where people go, you know what, these guys aren't living off the past. Of course, we play those hit songs in concert, but we mix them up. It's a big potpourri, A through Z, the whole alphabet. And I hope that people get a chance when everything opens up to come out and check out the shows. And same thing with Faster Pussycat, by the way. They're in the studio recording new music all the time. The band sounds great. It's going to be a killer concert. You kidding me? It's not going to cost you $200-$300 to go see those bands play. And both those.
I think I lost them. Yep, lost Chip. What a charismatic guy, huh? How about
Yes,
Chip,
man.
huh?
That was awesome.
If that's it, if that's all I got from Chip, I'm happy.
Music all the time. No.
Oh my gosh. Hold on, he's coming back. Hold on.
What happened there?
I don't know. So you've got Donnie on one of the tracks, right? From the new album.
Yeah, yeah. I was lucky enough to. I called Donnie. He says, "Hey Chip, I'd like you to play on one of the tracks on my new record, Beautiful Things. I have a song called Party. I think it's a great one. And actually, when I heard the song, it sounds like something him and I wrote a while ago, to be honest with you." And he goes, "I got Roger Manning from Jellyfish to play on it as well. You interested?" I said, "Yeah, man, no problem." He goes, "What do I owe you?" I said, "Nothing. I just fucking playing it. I love you, and anything I could do to help out the new record, I'd be glad to be a part of it." So I went down, shot the video. They spent tens of thousands of dollars shooting a video with a great team. They had this cat that does all these movies and soundtracks. His name's Todd Causley, and he put together a wonderful video. We went in the studio with a guy here in Chicago, an engineer, and he produced the whole thing. And I think it's a great track. And because of that,
Yeah.
Donnie says, "Hey, man, I'd love to do a song on the new Enough Snuff album." And Strangers in the Night was the song. He sent me a couple ideas. I picked that one. We went in there, we laid it down, and I think it sounds fabulous.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you guys playing again. It was nice to hear Donnie on the track as well. I just want to mention a few people who are watching right now. My buddy Fitch, he's a drummer in one of my bands. Chip, the legend himself, bought a tape in '98 from Strawberries based on the album cover, and have always appreciated him since. My buddy Todd, who's a bass player from the band Bad Marriage, they actually played with you guys when you were in Massachusetts. Chip is so criminally underrated as a bass player.
Very nice to hear, because there's quite a few great bass players out there. I mean, Paul McCartney invented my job, but if you look at all the guys there's so many guys that are underrated. No one ever mentions anything about John Deacon from Queen or Over and Watts from Mott the Hoople. Those are great players. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But we know Chris Squire, we know Geddy Lee. The list goes on out of the great bass players that are out there. Just to be mentioned as a footnote is good enough for me. I got to be honest with you. I never cared about having to be number one guy. I just want to play the songs as well as I can, and that's the most important thing, laying down the right foundation for the great songs. And that's it at the end of the day. I love singing too, and I love playing guitar and everything else. I play more than one instrument, but bass is quintessentially what I've picked up in the beginning and what I'm known for, and I'm grateful just to be recognized a little bit at all. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate your kind words.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know. I mean, influences could run the whole gamut of bands from the past, but I feel like when I listen to Enough's Enough, I get a lot of Beatles, and you've mentioned the Beatles already a few times. I feel like I hear Beatles and then definitely Cheap Trick. Am I right there?
I think there's more influences than that. If you show me a guy without influences, I'll show you a guy who hasn't written one note. So I believe that there's a ton of different bands. When I was growing up, I was listening to Zeppelin and Queen, and then I went over and of course I love Cheap Trick, but I love Squeeze, and I love the old Captain Beyond, or Crack the Sky. Bands that a lot of people don't know about that are fabulous, wonderful songwriters and just great songs and great grooves. There's thousands of bands out there that I like. There's hundreds that I hail beyond belief. And I always wear their influences probably on my sleeve. It's not just about Cheap Trick or the Beatles. It's just that it happens that we have that kind of a sound, but we're not listening to those records and pillaging off them. And God knows that
I didn't mean that.
we certainly been influenced by those groups. But there's many more bands out there. Early Alice Cooper, that was one of my biggest influences as a kid. And I've always loved that early stuff, the Killers record and Love It to Death. Anything Alice Cooper was great. Welcome to My Nightmare. That was a fabulous band too, by the way. I listen to a lot of different stuff, underground, and I listen to punk stuff too as well. My engineer, Rob Posen, who does the Enough Snuff albums with me, he loves the Damned and the Dickies and Sex Pistols, and there's just a Brinks truck full of bands out there that we go, wow, this is great stuff. More people need to hear this. And if we stop making music nowadays, all of us, we just continue to commence making any records at all, there's enough music to last us for lifetimes out there.
What's the last thing you listened to that surprised you? Like maybe it's a pop singer, maybe it's a more youthful band. What's the last thing you listened to that you downloaded on iTunes or whatever the case may be? You're like, oh my God, I didn't think I would like that. Country, rap.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't download it because I don't download music on iTunes ever. If I bought something, maybe I would do that, but I like to buy physical copies. I'm still living in the past. I like having albums. I like having CDs. That's important to me. The
Yeah.
last thing that really tripped my trigger beyond belief was a band called the Lemon Twigs. You got to check them out, folks. The
Yeah.
Lemon Twigs are happening. Two brothers. I think the singer's maybe 20, 21. His brother's like 19 years old. He plays drums, plays guitar. They play all the instruments. They're fabulous musicians. I like them so much that I had my wife reach out to their management company and tell them it was my birthday, and they sent me a CD. And listen, that's a band you want to. That's a band that'll trip your trigger beyond belief. LemonTwigs.com. Check them out because you'll be happy. I told you about them. Cross between a little bit of Cheap Trick, a little bit of perhaps Beatle influences in there as well. It's just a real nice potpourri of pop rock stuff. The guitar players, a fabulous musician. All the guys in the band are great as well. And I'm surprised they're not getting more traction because that's a band that deserves to be heard. The Lemon Twigs, fabulous.
Back in the day, you guys were on Howard Stern. He really took a liking to you guys. Talk about
he still does.
Does he really? Yeah. Tell me if you still have a relationship with him. Still talk to him because he loved you. And I think I saw something from his Channel 9 show back in like 91, 92, where you guys played. What a crazy scene that was.
Yeah, I've been on the show. That was a great party that we had back in WGN days. Because none of us knew what we were doing, and we were all in the seat of our pants. We showed up at a guy's mansion. The guy had a Brinks truck full of money. He said, "I want to have a show. You guys can use my house." And then he came in there and obliterated the whole place. We had prostitutes in one room, people getting massages in another room, bands that were playing live performances in one room, a cooking show. It was really off the chain. Wonderful time, though, hanging out with him. But I've been on the show over a dozen times. I've been on there with Enough Snuff. I've been on there with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses when he was putting out his book. And when we were touring around the country as Adler's Appetite. He's always been wonderful to us. Just a couple weeks ago, talking about Enough Snuff, how he loves our sound and we should be huge. That's a true friend right there. He grabbed onto us back in late '89 when Dee Snider's brother, Mark Snider, who was a radio rep over at Atco Records, turned us on to him and says, "Hey, I want you to meet this guy, Howard Stern." We didn't know anything about him because we were from Chicago. And so we went to a show, and ever since then, been brothers. He loves the music. We share the same common knowledge when it comes to hard rock and heavy metal. He listens to Mountain, and he loves the Ramones, and I do too. Those are bands that we love, but he also loves Cheap Trick and Queen and all that English stuff as well over across the pond. And I'm a fan of that as well. He's a big David Bowie fan. So musically, that's what connected us all. But, he says one thing to me. He says, "I hate any kind of professionalism in life." And I have to agree with him on that. Let's have a party and have a good time. And let's not worry about any bumps in the road. Okay. It's about getting through and enjoying your life while we're here right now and celebrating what we got in front of us.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great way to live. And it's nice to see that you guys are still doing what you're doing and you're staying true. I mean, I think I read an interview where somebody asked you, if you weren't playing music, what would you be doing? And you said, "I've been doing this forever. This is what I do. What else would I want to do?"
Yeah. I mean, I used to play baseball when I was a kid. I got a chance to do pretty well in sports. And I played football, baseball, basketball, hockey. I was a real jock. And I think I took some of those elements and used them when I put together Enough's Enough. I had bands before this. My first band I put together was called Degeneration. And after I graduated from Brother Rice High School, I moved right to Los Angeles, moved to Anne's house in Norco, California. And then her boyfriend, he was a guy who bought all kinds of real estate and stuff. He took us to Vegas, and our first gigs were opening up for Boss Skaggs and the Grateful Dead. And I was a little kid, 17 years old, just graduated from high school, playing big shows and hanging out with the big boys. And I worked my way through and doing gigs where we were sharing the stage with the Babies and Cheap Trick, and then a lot of good things happened. And those formidable years really left an indelible mark with me. And here I am after all these years. If I had to start a new career over, I don't know what I would do because I don't think about that. It was not a B plan. It was just about let's make music, put records out there, go tour around the country, and see if it sticks.
Are you still part of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp?
Do the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp quite a bit. As a matter of fact, they have a new movie out right now called Rock Camp. and everybody's in it from Slash to Roger Daltrey and the whole gamut of rock stars from Bloister Cult, Cheap Trick. They all come in there and they all do this show. And it's called Rock Camp. It's out right now. Anybody can get it. It's number, I think it's 93 on Rotten Tomatoes. It's really doing well. And the guy that put it all together is a guy named David Fishoff. He runs the rock and roll fantasy camp. And he calls me all the time to do stuff. I've been giving him a lot of love on my Monster Rock program as well, but he doesn't need my help. The movie's #1 right now in new independent movies, and I think he put together a wonderful team. And you want to see your favorite rock stars in a room together playing, because that's what it's all about, Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. It's musicians, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, people that work jobs that live their life vicariously through their favorite musicians, and they pay a certain amount of money to go to Los Angeles or Las Vegas, wherever it would be, to sit in and play with those guys for 3 days. And it commences with all the players getting on stage at the Whiskey A Go-Go and playing a show in front of an audience. It's fantastic. It's really a nice template when you think about it, because how many guys, when we were younger and we went to go see rock concerts and shows, we never got a chance to go backstage. We never got a chance to meet our favorite rock stars, let alone plug our instrument into an amplifier or get on a microphone and sing. So it's really a special moment when they put this together years ago, and it's doing fabulous right now. So if you want to check out that movie Rock Camp, you'll be able to see regular musicians just like any of us and regular people in life that all have gotten together, and for 3 days it's spend their life living it vicariously through their favorite guys. Yeah, it's really good. I think you'd enjoy it. It costs a Brinks truck to get on there. It's like probably $5,000 to do that. But like I said, you couldn't do that in the past. It was never in the template of when rock concerts were. Now there's meet and greets, and you go backstage and you can buy a Paul Stanley guitar that you just played on stage for $21,000 with a strap, or you can get Gene Simmons for $10,000 to sign one of his basses for you. Those moments weren't around when we were younger. Boy, things have certainly changed.
I think that's on my bucket list, is doing the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
Make sure you ask for me, and then I'll be there.
Absolutely, man.
All you got to do is say you want Chipson up as a counselor, and then they'll call me, and I'll fly out there, and I will put together a band for 3 days, and then we'll play the whiskey.
Nice. Well, I'm a singer, and we have a great local scene here in the greater Milford area, which is like south central Massachusetts.
I know where Milford is. I've been over there before. A lot of good-looking trim in that area. People love rock and roll and heavy metal out there. It's a great little place to go hang out. And I love playing shows around there as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if you guys are on the road and you're coming through, then maybe we'll get you for one of our venues out here. But love to meet you when you come through. Todd, my buddy Todd, who I've played in bands with before, he's in Bad Marriage. They opened for you. I think it was the Vault in New Bedford. But he
wow, what a great place! I love playing there. I played there with I played there with Ace Frehley as well. So I've done a few gigs inside that place. I play with Hookers and Blow there, which is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses and Alex Grassi from Quiet Riot and Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative. We played a show there as well. And there's a little place right now that's right next door to the venue called Purchase Street. And you go over there and get your all kinds of different albums. He's got a vinyl along with T-shirts and all kinds of rock memorabilia. And that place is great. I love it out there.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about New Bedford is you can go see Hookers and Blow, and then you can go get some Hookers and Blow. That's what I love.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect, and I like that idea as well. Everything should be legal right now except hurting each other. Everything else should be legal. Drugs should be legal. Prostitution legal. Leave it alone, and then any of the bad people out there know where to find where they can find themselves. If they need to trip their trigger, they can go there without any consequences. I like that. I like it loosey goosey out there, and the only laws should be out there if you're trying to hurt somebody or trying to steal. Those should be put in place. Otherwise, it should be a wide open world.
Yeah, peace and love, man. And my buddy Todd says you're one of the nicest people he met there. One of your favorite people in rock and roll.
It's nice of him to say that. It makes me, it feels good when you play shows and you leave an indelible mark with people and they say good things about when you're not around there. That's a true sign of a real artist right there, because, it's not like we do meet and greets or anything. At our shows, we do a sound check experience. If the fans want to meet the band, they come before the show. They watch a 3-song sound check. We take pictures. We hang out. We got everything set up in place where you can see and meet the bands and really spend quality time with us, as opposed to a quick handshake, a pat on the back, and get out, like cattle. So it's nice when people come out, meet the band, and then they have nice things to say about you when the show is all over. That means a lot to me, and it should mean a lot to most musicians out there, because it's at the end of the day, that's all we got left, bro, is our integrity.
That's right, man. All right, before I let you go, I just want to bring in two guys that are in the wings. They joined me after the show, and we have some drinks and we talk, but I do want to introduce them to you. My buddy Jay, who is a singer, and my buddy Bill, who is a bass player in some of my bands. So there's Bill, and there's Jay. Jay and Bill, this is Chip. Say hi to Chip.
What's going on, Chip? You introduced me wrong. I'm an absolutely horrible singer. So that's
but you are. So I just wanted to introduce you to some of my friends that I love dearly, and I played music with these guys. And when you're in town, Chip, we'd love to see you sometime.
No, it'd be great, you guys. Listen, it's wonderful when friends get together and they go make music and go hang out, watch concerts and stuff. The stories you guys have in your back pockets, I wish you'd share them with us, because I'm sure a lot of them are unprintable. But at the end of the day, it's always nice to be out with your friends and sharing these experiences with each other. And hey, it's good seeing you guys out there. I hope you come out to an Ups and Up show. I think the tour starts on June 11th. And it'll be Faster Pussycat and Ups Enough. And we're doing a 36-city tour. And I'm sure we'll do Bedford, because it's a great place to see rock and roll bands. I love the owners, good people there. Love everything about that place is quality. And we'll be able to chat and shoot the crap when I see you cats out there. But in the meantime, I appreciate you having me on your program, bro. It's very nice of you. I'm in the studio right now working as well. I wish everybody nothing but safe travels wherever you're going to be going to. And I'll be looking forward to seeing everybody on tour at the end of, in the middle of June sometime, hopefully when it's up. By the way, you find problems, come on in your wagon.
All right. Take care, brother.
We tour now, guys.
Rock and roll.
See ya.